Hello, everybody. This is Ricky Hampton, and welcome to the Gerv and Big Mo. We are doing a special edition tonight, coming to you on a Monday evening, the eve of the Western Conference Finals semifinal game between the LA Clippers and Denver Nuggets. And Derrick and Paul, it's good to have you guys here. I always look forward to talking hoops with you fellas.
Well, we got a lot of sports on. I'll tell you that. It's been a crazy weekend. I know that.
I mean, and y'all know this is the most exciting week of the year, right? Right?
It is.
Why?
It's the U.S. Open this week, fellas. The U.S. Open is September and the Masters in November. But you know what? Paul, I have had a great time watching sports on the weekend, from my beloved Tigers to my beloved Lions and all the playoff games.
Yeah, I mean,
and
even though
college football.
Yeah, college football, right? Even though it's not perfect, I find it interesting though that depending on where they are, like I know in Kansas City they allowed 17,000 to 18,000 fans in the stands, and even though it's not what they're used to, I like that a little better. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was good to see. It's just, I'm glad just to see some football. I know it's an adjustment for the players. It's an adjustment for everybody, but to see it back being played on TV, I thought it was great.
and to see college too. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I checked out your alma mater, Derrick. UTSA, the Roadrunners took care of business the other day.
Well, I think Paul brought us some luck. If you remember on that picture of Paul the other day, the Milwaukee Bucks picture, he had his little birds up sign. And I made a comment about it, and then a few days later, here we are on national TV. So thanks, Paul.
No, sure. Man, they got an offense, huh?
Yeah, they played.
Yeah.
Well, now here's the thing. We start off like the Clippers at the beginning of the season, so I'm hoping we can maintain it or sustain it. We'll see, but so far so good.
Yeah, you don't want to be like the Clippers and fold at the end.
And speaking of Milwaukee, though, the number one seed Milwaukee Bucks were ousted fairly easily by the Miami Bucks. I mean, the Miami Heat. Was that surprising to you guys?
It was to me. I mean, you know, Milwaukee had the best record in the whole league going into the stoppage, and then coming out of the stoppage. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I watched them in the bubble. I did not like the way they were playing, relying on the Greek Freak to get a rebound and dribble all the way and do a spin. No one else is touching the ball. I mean, you know, they weren't playing very good from the beginning of the bubble. And once you get in that rut, I mean, Miami surprised some people, though.
It was surprising to me, the fashion that they did it in. But going into the playoffs, I would have taken Milwaukee 100 out of 100 times. But like Paul said, as we saw when the bubble started, they struggled the entire time. And they never really got their rhythm. And as we see, Jimmy Butler helped Miami get off to a good start. We know how tough they play. So when you have a team that's all in, that's bought all in, I mean, anything can happen. And we saw, they were in it to win it.
So where does Milwaukee go from here, Paul?
Well, they got to, decide on what, Giannis is going to do. And I know he's already met with some of the owners and talked about where do we go from now, and are you willing to spend over the salary cap, because things are not done easily in the NBA anymore. You can't just trade someone for this person. Everything has to match up for salary cap and contracts. And hell, when you're in the draft room in the NBA, one of the most important people in that draft room is your accountability person that knows the rules inside and out. And more than one time, you have a head coach and scouts, talking about this scenario and that scenario, and then they look at the lawyer or the accountant in the room and say, "Can we do this?" And he either gives a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And so it's not easy, but My gut feeling is that he stays in Milwaukee. They add another piece or two and change some stuff. And, we talked, he needs to get better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He needs to, if he's going to shoot threes, he needs to get better at it. If he's going to drive the lane, he needs to get under control, not spin out of control and charge and turn it over. And, D and I, we talk all the time, and your brother's one, but he needs an in-between game. He needs to be able to pull up before he runs into people and make a shot.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think he stays. He said he was staying, so I'm going to take the man at his word. I have nothing that shows me that he's not staying. So I know he unfriended some people in the organization the other day and all that stuff, but I'm not going to buy into that too much. I think Giannis, he seems to be the guy that wants to win on his own terms. He doesn't want to do it like they team up the 3 or 4 superstars. He might have to go that route, but right now he seems to be a guy that wants to lead a team from scratch. And if he says he's going to stay, I can see him staying in Milwaukee. I mean, they got a lot of money coming his way soon, so I think it'll work out. If he decides he wants to stay, and of course his brother's there, and I'm sure he has some pretty good things going on in Milwaukee. So I'm hoping whatever happens, he makes the best decision for himself.
Yeah, I agree. The problem is he got caught so much heat a week or so ago when the reporters were on him about not defending the best guy on the court, and he said, "I just do what my coach tells me to do," and he caught all this heat for that. And I'm wondering if that's going to weigh on him of what's going to happen moving forward. I mean, blocking your friends or unfriend. I mean, I don't know about all that, but all I know is he has one more year on his contract, correct?
Yes. Hey, this is next year. But can you imagine people getting on you for doing what the coach tells you to do?
Right.
I mean, and he's only going to make $27 million next year.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Poor guy. But guys, he needs a better number 2. And he needs a point guard. I think they can get a better point guard than Bledsoe.
But they need to have the point guard have the ball in his hands. Yeah. That's a problem.
Right.
I mean, if he dribbles down the floor all the time, the point guard, Steve Nash or CP or whoever, would be standing over there watching him. There he goes again. So, and like we've talked before, I think they need a better system. They need to run more stuff. And you watch a lot of the teams, when the Clippers struggle, they all stand around and they don't, a staggered double or a turnout or something to get the ball moving. And the Bucks need that just to start. I'm not talking about specific sets. I'm talking about like a secondary break where you just get some action going and move the ball a little bit.
Paul, you remember I said, I posted on Facebook that it was Miami. I said it was toughness versus the system. And that's how I looked at that series. Miami's toughness versus Budenholzer's system, which needs some revamping. They have a good team. And as far as that Chris Paul, that point guard thing, Ricky, I like Bledsoe, but like Paul said, if they're going to have the ball in Giannis' hands all the time, what's the purpose of having a so-called point guard on the floor? That's similar to Philadelphia. Maybe that's why they didn't take Chris Paul in Philly, because Ben's got the ball in his hands. And until you have a coach that's going to demand one guy has the ball in his hands, like the Lakers, the first guy is going to have the ball is LeBron. And then there's Rondo. When you have teams like that, that's how you win, because you have chemistry. Everyone knows what's expected of them. And that's what I didn't see that much. In Milwaukee, I never saw it.
And that's a great point, because one of the only point guards that can get it out of LeBron's hands is Rondo. Because they respect him. They respect him, and he's really good at what he does, and he shares the ball. So unless the Bucks get a Rondo type point guard, they're wasting their time.
Yeah.
Okay, and before we leave the East, we got to look at the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's going to be a terrific series, Miami and Boston. Miami is on the road. Boston had to fight a little bit to get there. How do you guys see this thing playing out?
Go ahead, Paul.
Well, you know me. I mean, when you look at the numbers, right? And there's a feel, but when you look at the numbers, Boston and Miami, points per game, opponents' points per game, 3-point shooting, all that stuff is so close. It's so close, and it's crazy. And I think Dragic is key. He's been playing over his head, the best he's ever played. Butler's going to be there in and out. They have Miami has serviceable bigs, and they got a couple shooters that can come off the bench and light it up. So that's an interesting concept. But overall, I just give depth, experience, and talent to Boston just by about that much, maybe.
Wow, this is out of all the playoffs we've had, this is the toughest one for me to pick. Wow, if you look at Toronto, Miami, and Boston, all of them have a lot of the same qualities. These two teams, out of Paul, it's hard for me to pick because it's that Bam Adebayo, Daniel Tice matchup, man. I mean, if you look at their teams, they're very similar. You got your wing players, Hero, Duncan Robinson, Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Wanamaker, all these guys, and you got the same with Jimmy Butler and these on that side. So I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 7-game series. Woo, it's gonna be tough to pick, but I'm gonna lean slightly towards the Celtics, and the reason I am is because I hear Gordon Hayward's back practicing, and with these few days off, I hear that he'll be playing in the next series. So with Gordon Hayward coming back, I think that'll help Kemba Walker, because Kemba needs a little extra push right now. And I think with Gordon, it'll open up the floor a little more. So I'm going to take the Celtics in a tough 7 games.
And I'll tell you what, too, how good has Marcus Smart been? I mean, holy cow. Not only is he tough and takes charges and does all that stuff, now he's making 3-point shots. I mean, he used to bug me, flopping all over and doing all the flopping, but man, he's got my respect now, and he's turned into one heck of a player. And I agree, D. Haywood could be the little edge that gets him over the top.
Right. Just that little. This is a tough one, Ricky.
Hey guys, I heard a great interview with Larry Brown over the weekend, and he was talking basketball philosophies, and which I love. I was eating that stuff up, and he was on the conversation. They asked him about analytics. He said, I use analytics my whole career. It just wasn't called analytics. He said, I know what a good shot is. I know what a bad shot is. And he was saying analytics, all the stuff they're doing today are useful, but he was saying so much of it is just common sense. Yep. Take a good shot. If you open for a layup, take the layup. He would not kick the ball back out from point blank range. He wants that easy basket, the sure thing. What are your thoughts about that, fellas?
Well, I mean, and a good shot for you. Just because it's a good shot for you, Ricky, doesn't make it a good shot for me. And that's a problem.
Because I got 3-point range, Paul.
I know you do. But that's a big problem that teams have. Because like I said before, whenever everything goes wrong, people will say, well, no one knows their roles. I disagree. They know their roles. They don't accept their roles. So, I have a rule book and I have rules of my open offense. I have a 3-second rule on offense, right? You have 3 seconds to do 3 things. You have 3 seconds to do 3 things. If the lane's open, you drive it. If your teammate's open, you pass it to him. And if you're open in your range, shoot it. 3 things in 3 seconds. Don't hold the ball. And my little parenthesis on if you're open, shoot it in your range. And I have parenthesis, talk to coach for your range.
It's true. I said it the other day. I was watching Houston, and one player in particular, Austin Rivers, drives to the basket. There's no one there. Anthony Davis is standing under the bucket. So instead of pulling up and shooting the jump shot, the little 8-foot jump shot, he's looking east and west. I was taught basketball is played north and south. So when you're looking to the side, everybody in the gym sees you looking that direction. So it's not hard to adjust. And that's how Houston was playing. They were taking away from they were taking off the 3-point line, but they were still looking to kick the ball out to the 3-point line. How silly is that? They take it away your game plan for the threes, and you're still trying to shoot threes. Something a little wrong with that picture right there, and that's why they're at home.
And another problem that runs in with that, with analytics or whatever that is it tells you to keep shooting. Keep shooting threes, right?
No matter what.
But the problem is, if you're 0 for 5, stop shooting.
Thank you.
Either drive it or pass it to somebody else. I see Kenny, the Jet, on the TV arguing that all the time. And Barkley says, well, if you're 0 for 5, pass the damn ball.
Paul, you saw that picture last night that Derrick put on Facebook when he was sitting with D'Antoni and I think it was Harden and Covington. And I'm trying to think because there were 2 different pictures. But I'm sitting there. I wanted to be in that room so bad, man. Not when they were playing spades, but at the one when after they had their meal. I wanted to just be there and I just wanted to really talk to Derrick and see what makes him think this style is conducive to winning. I just don't get it. How do you think you're going to beat a team that has 3 or 4 7-footers and LeBron James by shooting 3-point shots only?
Yeah, I mean, I sent that one of those pictures to you guys. I called it the Last Supper.
The Last Supper,
yeah, Last Supper.
I mean, and I've had a Last Supper before. When I was with the Dallas Mavericks on the staff, we were playing the Spurs in the playoffs, and Don Nelson took us all out to a nice dinner and said, "Well, boys, if we lose tomorrow night, this is our Last Supper."
But Paul, you said something. You talked about your 3-second rule, and especially you coach on a professional level. A professional should know what his shot is.
They don't.
They don't. Hey, Rick, no.
Like Paul George thinks he's the number 1 option, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing. Players think their range is different than you think it is, and it's funny, interesting. Because when I coached, I would always do a good shot, bad shot film session every 2 weeks. I get the players in a room, and I'd go through the film, and then I'd stop it when somebody took a shot, and I'd ask them, is this a good shot or a bad shot? And a lot of the time, they had no idea. They thought a good shot was and I thought it was a bad shot, and then the other way around. And a lot of theirs was based on if it went in or not. A good shot is not a shot that goes in all the time. No shot goes in all the time. It's a good one that you take in your range, in rhythm, in the flow of the game.
If you pull up on the fast break and take a jump shot in the last minute of the game, I don't care who it is. It's not a good shot in a 1-point or 2-point game.
Indeed, when you watch, and you've watched the games. When you watch AAU or watch college or watch pros at any level, even the minor leagues, how many times you see guys dribble down and pull up? It's like they never pass the ball, not one time. I also did a thing, and I did it with the Milwaukee Bucks. That was part of my job, to count how many passes per possession. So if we're going down the floor and having 1-2 passes every possession, we're losing. Now, if you get 3 or 4 or 5, you got a chance to get a good shot. And, players, it's hard to, I was amazed at how many players don't know what a good shot or a bad shot is.
And let me tell you, hey, Ricky, and I hope the fans listen to this clearly. I'm going to use a Jermichael Green for the Clippers as an example. In the first quarter, Paul, you saw the first quarter of the game yesterday? Yeah. Jermichael Green got off to a really good start. So you ride that in the first quarter. You, as a coach, Doc cannot expect that from Jermichael Green in the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter is when you go to your horses. So if, say, Jermichael Green is open with a minute left in the fourth quarter, just because he's open, that's not a good shot. They're leaving JaMychal Green open to keep the ball out of Kawhi or Paul George's hands. And that's what these players don't seem to understand. You're not always getting open on your own like you're Rip Hamilton or you're Steph or Klay Thompson. A lot of times you're playing right into the other team's strength. They want you to have the ball in your hands at the end of the game. And that's what a lot of these young people don't seem to understand.
You're open for a reason.
But you know, people get offended, Paul. You know, their feelings get hurt.
Yeah.
And you know
Hey,
what?
he's leaving you open. Hey, they're like, if you don't have the range, right, and you're out too far, and they're leaving you open and they're embarrassing you, then take 2 dribbles in and pull up in your range. That's how
Amen. Somebody hears me. Hey, Ricky, I'm gonna before you say something. All right, well, now you know I do these AAU games. Paul just said it clearly. I had to tell a young man last week, hey, man, look, I love you to death. I care about your future. Now we're going to talk about the brain. You just took 5 3-pointers. How many did you make? Okay, now, here's the thing. Your guy that's defending you standing 10 feet away from you. So what's wrong? Who told you it's illegal to dribble inside the line? Get to where you can get your rhythm. Take 2 or 3 dribbles or 1 or 2 dribbles and get your legs under you and pull up and take the best shot. It doesn't have to be a 3. Take the high percentage shot at that time of the game.
I tell players too. I mean, some players that are struggling from the 3-point line, you know, they're shooting 20% or whatever. I say, listen, if you're going to get up, because I didn't let my players, if you were 33% or below at the 3-point line, you couldn't take threes. If you were 33 and above, you could take threes. You know, maybe if you're below, you could take 1 or 2 threes. And I said, you know why? Because the only way to get back up there is not to shoot 2 for 7, it's to shoot 1 for 2. Right. 1 for 2, 1 for 2, and now you're at 40%.
Okay. So I need you and Ricky to tell me this then. So how do you go from 0 for 27 to start jacking up 58 3-pointers the following years? 0 for 27, and you still didn't learn. Instead of going down in the amount of threes you take, you increase it all. You almost triple it. I'm like, come on, Derrick, y'all shooting 58 to 60 3-pointers a game, and the only consistent shooter they have are Harden from certain days and PJ Tucker. Only consistent shooters they have.
Yeah, with the corner.
Covington from the wing.
Well, he's not the same since he left Philly, but he has been better. He has looked like his old self. So yeah.
I had him in the D League. He couldn't shoot a corner 3 to save his life, but from that bend, that angle, he was deadly. But like you said, so the Rockets are in a dilemma, right? Because the system is Daryl Morey's system. It's his system. And Coach D'Antoni is one of the all-time best coaches ever at using that system. So, and now he's not coming back. So if you're Daryl Morey, you know, do you just scrap the system that you, Mr. Analytics, brought, or do you multiply it again and shoot 100 threes again?
Paul, you, myself, and Ricky had a conversation the other day where we said we still didn't know if D'Antoni bought into that system or was him and Daryl was in their system together. By him leaving, I think this makes it clear, right, Paul, that this was Daryl's doing, clearly Daryl's doing?
It's Daryl's system, but D'Antoni used it already. It's his system.
Well, with the Nash and all that, yeah. But here's the thing, though. But he had Stoudemire and those guys, and Sean Marion wasn't going to always be shooting threes. So they played inside somewhat, not like now.
No, but his book is called 8 Seconds or Less.
Yeah.
That means shoot it in 8 seconds or less. So because I was with the Dallas Mavericks when we played them in the West Finals, when we beat them and played Miami. And I scouted them every game against the Clippers. I was at every game. And when I went back to report to the team, I said, listen, we play fast pace with Steve and Dirk and that, we play fast paced. But I mean, with Steve, with Dirk and us, we play fast paced. And we've played against fast paced teams, but you will never, ever understand how fast these guys play. And in game one, at the first time out, when Phoenix was running up and down and Dirk and those guys sat down on the bench and they were huffing and puffing, I said, understand me now? I mean,
but why does D'Antoni and these guys get credit for being the inventors of the 8-second and under offense? Because none of them started it. It started with a coach used to coach the Spurs and Denver Nuggets, Doug Mo.
Doug Mo, yeah.
Well, actually, it started at Loyola Marymount.
Well, right? I'm saying on the pro level though, Doug Mo. Nobody talks about Doug Mo.
Yeah, Denver for sure. Yeah. But he wrote a book and stuff. And the other thing is, so now the Rockets have a decision to make, right? So if you're going to bring in another coach, a disciplinarian, that's not going to work either unless you get support from the top, right? So they have to make a big decision now. And obviously the Harden Westbrook group didn't work.
Can you bring in a disciplinarian with those two?
Not with Harden, you can't.
Man, and then what about Russ? Hell, because you got to be careful what you say to Russ. You come in the gym, hell, you might be on the other side of the court, and he might be listening and trying to hear what you saying on what you say. So how can you do?
He might try to fight you and your whole family.
Is Russell still a prime player?
No.
Is he still a guy? I don't know if he ever was a guy you can start a team with.
Go ahead, D.
Russell Westbrook has had a very good career, but what I just watched in this playoffs, and I don't think it's so much was the Lakers. I just think it's Russ's. We know Russ has had several surgeries. Russ has put a lot into this game, and Father Time is undefeated. I just think it's a lot of wear and tear on his body. And then when you got all the other stuff that's going on with him, his head is in another world. So I don't know what's going on with Russ, but I think we're seeing a decline for sure, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I seemed like he was hurt or whatever, never got his rhythm back. But the thing is, Russ is what Russ has always been. That's him. He's physical. He's athletically gifted. He's tough as nails. He drives to the basket with abandon. That's what he is. Can't shoot threes. Not a very good passer. Runs people over. Can play defense when he wants to. So it is what he is. He's not going to change. I mean,
that's what he is.
Yeah, he is what he is.
Let's move on. And that was really interesting to hear, some of the inner workings of the game, especially at the professional level. And it's good to know they got some of the same problems that we do when we go to the Y for our noontime pickup games.
And don't be surprised if D'Antoni is hired within the next month by another team. Don't think he just stepped away from a contract without something in his back.
Yeah, I heard the Pacers really want.
Guess what team he would end up with that I could see?
Who?
And the Big Apple.
In New York?
Has he been there before?
Yeah, he was there once before.
Yeah, he was a failure before.
Yeah.
Well, I read a story today about the Pacers showing him some great interest. Hey, but let's move on to the Game 7, Denver and the Clippers. Denver has been a resilient team. I mean, they refuse to quit. I think the Clippers have the best. They definitely have the best roster in the league, and I keep saying the best team because they got a great player in Kawhi Leonard. They got quality players throughout their lineup, but something is clearly going wrong.
Go ahead, D.
You gonna make man. Hey, I've said it 10 times, man. I'm gonna say this again. The problem is when they get the lead every game in the second quarter, they're in the lead. They go to their bench, they take Kawhi out, whatever. So Doc brings him in with 7 minutes left in the second quarter. But during the time when he goes to the bench, immediately the lead dissipates. The lead dissipates immediately. They were up 8 the other night. As soon as he sits down, the lead is gone down to 2. He comes back on the floor. Then they restore order. They go back up, and Mike Malone calls timeout. What they figured out is when he's off the floor, the guys are helter-skelter. PG is supposed to be the first option, but you don't know when he's going to go. Kind of reminds me of Westbrook. You got Lou Williams. You don't know when he's going to go. So they've got too many guys that are they have too much freedom. And that's what Doc has got to understand, reel these guys in. At certain times in the game, get the ball in your stars' hands. You go with the people that got you here. I don't need Montrezl Harrell dribbling the ball. I don't need JaMychal Green working on his crossover. You go to the people that got you there. And if they do that tomorrow, I believe they advance. If they don't, we already know what's going to happen. Jokic and Jamal Murray will lead the Nuggets to victory.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. So in my opinion, then load management has to go out the window. Screw that. You need to play Kawhi the whole game. So, I mean, it's low. So and the other thing is, I don't think Denver is going to win, even if the Clippers go off the rails a little bit, because, you got Jokic shooting one-legged three-point shots, and they were going in. That's all great. That's what they did before, but they're all willy-nilly. That was a no-lose situation. Game 7 is not a no-lose situation. Game 7 is different, and the Clippers are going to go through. And I think then Kawhi has to step out of his quiet demeanor and be a leader then as a player and tell guys what to do and when to do it, because when you're a coach of an NBA team, you can't control what players do on the floor. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I would tell Kawhi, go give me 40 tonight.
Wait, Ricky, I gotta chime in on that, because we had that conversation, and I disagreed with Paul last time. But after watching this playoff, I agree with Paul 100%. And I'm gonna say this: I've actually been ticked off. I've been really, really ticked off. Kawhi is too unselfish. There's times coming down when I'm looking for him to get the ball at the elbow and then tell everybody to get out the way and call Zubac for the pick and roll. He's throwing the ball to the wing to guys like Lou and guys like Patrick Beverly. Can't have that tomorrow. He's got to restore order and let them know he's the guy that's won the rings.
Hey, I got a quick question. Lou Williams. It looks to me like Lou just got old all of a sudden. And does that happen? He just...
Man, Lou got Drake on his mind. Lou, they've been talking about Lou's girl in the bubble and all that. So, since his girl's in the bubble, I've been hearing how she dated Drake and all that other crap. So Lou's his mind has been on Magic City. And who knows where Lou is? I haven't seen Lou make a layup in about a week. And I love Lou Williams, but I haven't seen him make a layup in about a week.
Yeah, and guess what? He is getting older. And guess what? As the playoffs go on, your legs start to go. And that's why it's so important when you have the chance to eliminate a series, you don't screw around like Boston did and blow it. You get rid of it and you move on, because one game leads into another game, and then your legs go and your body goes. I've been there, done that. And maybe it's catching up to them, and there's so much going on. Code like analytics, like guys passing up layups. Well, that's them. You're supposed to lay it in, but a coach can't make you not lay it in.
That's common sense. Yeah, I agree.
He can't run out on the floor and say,
Hey, Paul, and does anybody fake to the corner anymore and lay it up? Does anybody do that anymore?
They should, because they try to jump it. They should just, like you said.
Right, because you already programmed to try to steal the ball. You know it's going. What happened to the shot fake? I mean, the fake to the corner and just lay the ball up. Yep. That's unbelievable.
One more thing about analytics. If you guys were coaching, would you use it?
Ricky, you
want some of that information? Or?
Analytics is just taking the high percentage shot. I don't need guys. I was a scorer, but I can shoot over guys. But common sense tells me my percentage is going to be higher if I take high percentage shots, and it's going to help the team. So just think, I'm leading by example. If I take high percentage shots, what are the other guys going to do? So you just take good shots. It might not be a three. It might be a layup. Just
That's
take
what Larry Brown was saying.
shot.
That's what Larry Brown was saying in the interview. I mean.
Analytics is a tool. Analytics is one tool you have as a coach. You have analytics, you have scouting reports, you have assistant coaches. You have that's one tool that you have to use to get the best out of your team. Now, and the other thing about analytics, and I've been involved in it a long time, like D, you would be, if you were playing for me, you would have different freedom than somebody else. Mike Harris, I don't know if you guys remember Mike Harris, played at Rice and about 6'8", played for the Rockets for years. He was a scoring machine, and we were in the Rockets organization, and he loved the elbow jump shots, and he loved different stuff that they weren't in love with. But we as coaches, we won a championship with him because Mike could do stuff that other guys can't do. Sorry, it's like Michael Jordan. Sorry, you know.
He can jump too. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Kerr, you can't do what Michael Jordan does. Sorry, that's the rule. So, and D, you would have in analytics as a coach, I would use that, and then I would help you to get the best that you can get. But then I would tell your teammate, hey, just because he does it doesn't mean you do it. That's different.
What you're maximizing your strengths is all you're saying.
Yeah.
I remember I covered Anthony Mason when I was a reporter down in Nashville. I covered him at Tennessee State. He was third in the country in scoring, 27 points, 10 rebounds a game. And when he finally, it took him a couple years, when he finally got to the Knicks, I went down to the Palace to watch him play the Pistons. That was the championship Pistons. They got blown away. But after the game, Mason's looking at his scorebook. This is his first year there. Hey, man, look at this. Patrick Ewing got 25 shots. I only got 5. I'm like, Mace, that's Patrick Ewing, man. Clearly, he finally learned that. But it just wasn't computing with, that's the franchise guy right there.
Hey, now wait, remember who he was with as a rookie? He was hanging out with Derrick Gervin. I had to have some conversations with Anthony. Rest in peace, my friend. I love you. Yeah, I had to have some conversations with him because Anthony, you know, we played for Bill Fitch, and Bill Fitch is tough, and he had a system, and Anthony had that mentality where he wanted to score, he wanted to be the point forward, he wanted to do it all.
Right.
So that's probably why we ended up being good friends. To see somebody with that mentality as a rookie, it was impressive to even have those kind of guts. And he didn't try to hide it at all. He wanted Bill Fitch to put him at the point guard.
But he wised up and realized what was going to keep him in the league.
When your players start looking at score sheets, like at halftime and stuff, that's the red flag.
I hate that, Paul.
That's the red flag. I would never no one can have a score sheet at halftime, especially. The only score you should be worried about is the scoreboard, right? And then after the game, when you quiet down everything, you can look at that stuff. But, and there's a lot of players that do that now. At halftime, they're looking at score sheet. Are you kidding me?
Hey, Paul, I had a different mentality. Even in college, I didn't ever look at the score sheet. I'm being honest. Because I felt like, man, I was going to fill up the score sheet anyway. And somebody will tell me after the game how many points I scored. Seriously. Or how many rebounds I had. There were enough people that you had, there were enough friends and all that, they would tell you if you had a really good game. And I wasn't focused on that because when you're thinking about that, you're not being true to your team. When you don't worry about your stats, that's usually when you get good stats.
And most players have a clock. They have a clock in their brain. Like when you play in the NBA for more than a couple of years, I played for 12. There's a clock in your brain that counts out 24 seconds. You know exactly when. And it counts out 3 seconds. You know when you're too long in the lane, I got to get out of here. There's also a clock in your head, at least when I was playing, that I knew, shit, I just missed 3 shots. I'm going to just rebound now. I mean, I don't have a score sheet to tell me that, but the game is different, and that it's so hard as a coach and coaching at the highest level. You want to give your players freedom. Everyone wants freedom, right? Everybody wants freedom to play and do their own thing until the game's on the line.
Yep.
And then if you lose and you give the players freedom, it's the coach's fault.
What they do yesterday in the fourth quarter, Paul? You saw the game, Ricky. You saw the game. All of a sudden in the fourth quarter, now my Clippers are down 15. Who they start looking for then?
Boy, bring it back.
Being honest, you saw the game. Now everybody's so nervous and shaking and thinking about it's going to be a game 7. Because believe me, no team wants to go a game 7. I don't care who they are. So they were sweating bullets. Now they want the savior to bail them out.
Yeah, because anything can happen in game 7.
I'll never forget when you talk about that. My old high school coach, great Leroy Wright, in Nashville, Tennessee, at North High School. My best friend on the team, and I hope he's watching tonight. Well, yeah, is Charles Johnson. Really good player, 6'4". But the star of our team was Dexter White. So we got this game. Charles comes down. He scores the first 5 baskets of the game. Coach Wright calls timeout after Charles knocks down a little jumper. He goes to the bench. Charles Johnson, you know you shoot the ball more than Dexter White. Charles is walking around like, what did I do wrong? I hit every shot. You don't shoot the ball more than Dexter White. I mean,
you can't do that no more. You can't do that no more, man.
Hey, Paul, but isn't that true? Because Ricky, just picture, seriously, and he's leaving now, but picture someone taking more shots than Harden. You think Mike D'Antoni had a night's sleep that night? No way.
Yeah.
Well, Harden would let him know too.
Let's move on to the Lakers and whoever they face in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals.
They're facing the Clippers.
The Clippers? If it's clearly the Clippers have the best chance of beating them.
They're facing. I'm telling you right now. Unless something crazy happens and Kawhi, there's no way the Clippers are losing. I'm telling you. I'll put my money on that. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I see the Clippers winning by double figures tomorrow.
Yeah.
How do you guys see the Laker-Clipper matchup?
Paul, you take that one while I try to get my heart together.
As I've been watching everything, Boston, Miami in the East, it's a close matchup. I think Boston has the more talent. And after I thought the Clippers were deeper and had more talent, I don't agree with that anymore. I like the Lakers. I think when you have LeBron and AD, and then you have Rondo that's helping them, and you got a couple big guys and Howard and McGee that can come in every once in a while. But now they found something. They found something that now if Anthony Davis will accept playing the 5, and now LeBron is the 4, they got something there. And that's hard to guard.
Just tell him you're going to play the 5.
It doesn't work that way anymore, man. You get fired. That's what happens.
Ask Tim Duncan.
Then his agent's going to call you and say, hey, AD signed with the Lakers because you promised he wouldn't play the 5.
Wow.
Tim Duncan.
Wow.
But I mean that and the Clippers scare me because we've been talking about this a little bit. They're so freaking emotional. They get all wound up and everything, and Patrick Beverly and Harrell and.
But I think Kawhi and Paul George kind of even out what LeBron and Anthony Davis would do, and it's going to be the guys.
Well, I thought that Ricky. I thought that Paul George and Kawhi would be the duo, but when I watched them play, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a Clipper guy. I have been all year. They don't measure up because that means you gotta which one you comparing PG to? Because Paul has been all around the place a little bit. Paul kind of scares me. If you look at Paul, him and Lou Williams are a lot alike. And Paul sometimes can get out of sorts. And I watched him the other night. Sometimes Doc has to talk to him. I still see Paul like a kid. Sometimes like when he first started in Indiana. And I've seen that a little bit in this series. He hasn't reacted the way I've expected in a lot of situations. I can't go against my pick because I picked the Clippers. But man, I get the Lakers a much bigger chance than I gave them before. A much bigger chance.
What do you think, Paul?
So let's predict. Let's say LeBron and AD are matched up with Kawhi and George. Okay, so that's a swipe. So now, who on the Clippers matches up with Kuzma? Who can be a Kuzma?
Morris.
The good Morris or the bad Morris?
Well, they both bad. Hell,
The Lakers have a Morris on their team too.
I know. With Marcus, the one with the Clippers is supposed to be the best one. Marcus.
He is the better player. Marquise is playing well now.
Yeah, I said it's supposed to be the best. Yeah, the one in LA been playing his role a little better.
Yeah. So let's say Patrick Beverly, tough guy, blah blah blah. Caruso, tough guy, blah blah blah. Right. So they wipe each other out, right?
Right.
So then you have
Rondo.
What's that?
Rondo.
Yeah, you have Rondo is the X factor because there's no point guard on the Clippers team like Rondo.
That's why I said Rondo, because there is no Fred VanVleet.
Yeah.
Okay. Zubac, he's Howard and McGee. I mean, I know, but still, we matching them up.
I like Zubac, man. Zubac has been fumbling the ball. I think this series, Denver's a little too quick for him. The Lakers, he'll be better in the Lakers series because he'll be faced against Dwight and JaVale, some guys that are big guys. So I expect him to have a better series, but it's going to be tough for him. Kawhi's going to have to rebound. And they're going to have to get some of those guards. They're going to probably have to send 4 guys to the boards, and one point guard gets back on defense.
Yeah, I mean, Zubac. I like Zubac. He averages 8 points a game and 8 rebounds. It's not like out of this world numbers.
Right.
And I think the key is that the Lakers found out and agreed with or accepted that they are better when they go AD at the 5. So Howard and McGee, who can be their shot blocker, rim protector, whatever at times, will be less of a factor than they were going to be till they found this out. And like with Lou Williams, he's up and down, he's all over the place. He could be hot, he could not be. I mean, I think the Lakers are better all around.
They look better right now.
I'm sorry, Derrick.
No, I just said they look better right now from top to bottom. That's for sure.
Well, I know. So LeBron and Kawhi, MVP, blah, 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 whatever. I definitely like AD better than Paul George.
Yeah.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the big question of the series to me. This is going to be the deciding factor. And this guy, because you don't know what he's going to bring. Montrezl Harrell is going to be big. If he's too small and to deal with Dwight and JaVale McGee, this is going to be a Lakers series. If Montrezl can hold his own, him and Zubac in there, then we've got a series. If not, the Lakers are, man, I hate to say it, the Lakers will come out of this series in 6.
So let me, just in case Denver makes it, you guys give them no chance.
No, Paul's giving them no chance. I just can't see them winning, Ricky, but I just don't believe. I think they're going to run out. This is their 4th series in a row that they've gone 7 games. I just think it's time their bubbles get ready to burst, as they say.
They got a puncher's chance. That's what they have. They have a puncher's chance, but I think they took their best punch last game. I think.
I heard a interesting comment from LeBron. He was talking about they had a little time off, and he was talking about sleeping. He says, "Man, just getting the proper rest was so important to his regimen." I mean, we all go to bed. We all know what he does to take care of his body, and it's showing it.
I had a routine. Hey, Ricky, I'm going to say this, and Paul knows the truth. Everybody has their own routine. Some guys can stay up all day and all that. He had to take a nap. Seriously, when I played with the Nets, I had a routine. My wife knew my routine. I take my nap about 2 o'clock or whatever. and you wake up about 4:30 or whatever. I had to wake up, I eat and all that, and you start preparing to go to the gym. On game day, there was nothing else that was priority. So yes, getting your rest is a big factor because you got to be true to the game and you got to be true to your team. You can't go out there. You got to give it your all, and that means you can get in your proper rest. So yeah, that's very important. If guys that want to win, they do exactly what's necessary.
And I know that's some things you guys were talking about before this thing all started. Who was going to handle being in the bubble and be disciplined about it? You see Daniel House, who's an important part of Houston's rotation, not that it made that a difference, but still, it kind of speaks to where, his mind was.
Well, and you talk about, everybody sleeps, but everybody doesn't sleep. So, when you're in a series and you're with an NBA team, like coaches, you don't sleep. So you're up at 2:30 in the morning working on video or working on a report, or if you're a head coach, you're doing all that and probably worrying about the rotations for the next game and what's going to happen. And if you're a player and you're a main player, you're thinking the same thing. There's pressures. You can't get to sleep after a game. You're wound out of. No one could go to sleep after a 7 o'clock game till 2 in the morning, probably.
Oh no, you're not going to sleep after the game, Rick. We're going out to the Paul. We're going out to the restaurant.
I mean, so you're all wound up and you can't sleep, and like I was like you, D. I took a nap game day. We call it the NBA nap, and I would sleep hard for an hour and a half, and then get up, take a shower, eat. Because your body needs to recoup, and everybody's body is different too. So you have 15 guys on the team, and as a head coach, you got to figure out: do we want to do a 9 o'clock shoot around or 11 o'clock shoot around? Do we want to give them the day off? Do we want to have them get a run? There's all kinds of scenarios that happen, and you can't just say, okay, Kawhi wants some rest, but Paul George needs a workout. Okay, I mean, when we were on the road a lot of the time, especially with Don Nelson, and we would play back-to-back in 3 games in 4 nights, bless you, and we would get into, say, Philadelphia and, get from the airport and get into the hotel at 11 o'clock in the morning. Nelly would say, okay, all the starters and you two guys, you go upstairs and take a nap. Everybody else get your stuff on. We're going to the arena to we would play 3-on-3 or whatever to try and keep in shape. So all kinds of scenarios go on.
So it's 10 o'clock. It's 10:10 Eastern time in Orlando, Florida. Frank Vogel's not just somewhere goofing off.
Oh, no. Hey, Ricky, they've been the most prepared team in the bubble. That's the only thing that scares me. If you look at the Lakers' behavior in the bubble, you haven't heard anything coming out in no kind of rumblings. And we've seen how they've been acting on the bench. They've been acting like a team that came here for one goal and one goal only. And that's what bothers me. The Clippers have had Lou with Magic City. Montrez, I know he lost his grandma, something that, you can't help. But they've had other things going on. And if you look at the Lakers, it's been basketball, basketball, basketball. If you listen to LeBron, that's all he's talked about. Like his 4th championship, he's taking it like everything he has. Like this is his last opportunity. And that's how it seems like he's been approaching it.
And no coach does that. Coaches can set a little tone, but the players do that. The players are the ones that set the tone. LeBron, AD, Rondo, they're setting the tone. Back in the day, no one on the Celtics did anything that would piss Larry Bird off. You didn't do it. Or Magic Johnson with the
Lakers. I do, Paul.
What's that?
Hey, Paul, let me cut you off. I got to say this to our fans, and I'm going to apologize to you and Ricky, but I got to say it. This is what I need to see tomorrow. And I'm not a big cursor, but y'all going to have to excuse me. See, I got this. This is the ball in my hand. This is my finger. I'm Kawhi with the ball. I'm telling them tomorrow, get your ass over there and get out of the way and let me lead you to victory.
And
I mean, that's how serious I am about it, man. He's going to have to be a leader tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to find.
I'm not so sure Kawhi's not a leader. He's just a quiet guy.
No, he's a leader, Ricky. He's just going to have to be he's a leader. He has to be a vocal leader, is what Paul's saying. He's got to tell them, he's got to set the tone vocally. There is no more being quiet. The quiet leader hasn't worked. Tomorrow he's got to come out of his comfort zone, or they're going to lose.
He's got, and to be a leader, you have to have a mean streak and be an ass sometimes. So you're going to piss some people off, and you're going to make your teammates mad, but that's the way it goes. You think Michael Jordan was concerned that people were mad at him? You think Magic Johnson or Larry Bird were? No, they're not. You think LeBron is? No, he's not. So we will see if it's in Kawhi. It's not Kawhi's natural nature, so we're going to see if he can actually do it.
I cover Barry Sanders. They used to get on Barry about that all the time. He was a model citizen, hard worker, but he wouldn't say anything to anybody.
I had a team meeting.
Hey, Paul.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
I had a team meeting.
My coaches didn't like me.
I had a team meeting up in Canada a few years back, and we were struggling. And I had everybody sit down, and I just talked about the role thing and all that, accepting your roles. And I asked them one by one in front of everybody, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice to help us win? What are you willing to do? And we had a point guard that was quiet, great kid, quiet. And I said, listen, I need you to take your headphones out, and I need you to be a leader, and I need you to tell these guys, where to go and what to do. Well, coach, that's not how I feel. That has to go with, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to jump out of your comfort zone and do that? Because we need you to do that. And the Clippers need Kawhi to do that tomorrow. Yep.
Well, Paul, I would have loved to play for you, man. I bet you were a great coach.
You would have. I
would have been on the bench, I know, but
I didn't pull any punches, and I know, okay, it's not your nature to be talkative. You're a quiet guy, but I need you to be talkative. Are you willing? So some of the players need to stop shooting, okay? You need to stop shooting, and you need to speak up. That's the sacrifice.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
You got to speak up. It's not about feelings anymore. Hey, Ricky, I'm going to tell you this. My teammates didn't like me a lot of days in college. I'm sure they'd tell you. We still talk today. They loved me, but they didn't like me a lot of days in college because I wasn't going to accept losing, man. And if you didn't come to practice ready, you might get hit in the head with the ball by Derrick. And if you don't believe me, you can ask any of my teammates. I wanted to win. I was not going to settle for anything less than us giving our best every practice. And that's sometimes is not something that coach can control because coach is not in the locker room with you guys. Yeah. There's a certain way we're going to prepare, and everybody's going to get on board. That has nothing to do with the coaches. That has something to do with these guys that you're going to war with every day.
In the NBA, very little. Schemes and plays and defenses and scouting reports and all that stuff, coaches have a responsibility. Holding players accountable, they have a responsibility. But the coach has no control in the NBA or college anymore, really little college, of what the players are going to do. You don't. They have to stand up and have leadership and do it. I'm throwing back again. I had a point guard on that team that was so skilled, 42-inch vertical, shoot the three, quick as hell, went to Syracuse for a little bit. And he wore headphones everywhere. He always headphones walking to practice, headphones in the locker room, headphones after practice, headphones on the bus, headphones at meals. I said, hey, take those headphones off. You're a point guard, right? You want to be a point guard? Yeah. Well, you need to lead these guys. And how are you going to lead them if you don't talk to them and know what they want? Do you know, like we have this shooter, say it's John. Do you know where he likes to get the ball to shoot? No, because you never talk to him. You're always on your headphones. You need to communicate with people.
So with that in mind, both you guys have coached. Would you take a very talented player, but he's kind of a problem to deal with?
Well, it depends on the other guys on your team. There's only the Pistons and the Bulls are the only team that could really control Rodman, right?
Yeah. It takes Isaiah and Michael.
Yeah, you have to have strong leadership, like the Spurs, back in the day with Duncan and all those guys. They could take a question mark guy and bring him in because that was the rules. You know, when you go back at the Bad Boys, you got your hat on right now.
Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah, and they did a special on them, and I remember, you know, Bill Lambier and Isaiah Thomas when they made the Mark Aguirre,
Right.
Adrian Dantley trade, and they said, listen, we sat him down and we said, okay, you were that over there, and now this is our team, and you're going to do it our way. That's what it takes.
And
Rick Mahorn, I said, and I talked to Rick on the phone, and he was like, just like you said on TV, who the hell they think they are?
Yeah. Hey guys, this has been a great hour. I love talking basketball with you two gentlemen. I always learn something. Can't wait for the next time we get together. Any final words, guys?
Yeah, I have one before Paul. Yeah, I do, and this is very important. First, I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. This goes out to the two officers that were shot in L.A. I have to address this. I want people to hear this, and I don't mean to offend anybody. I had someone tell me that this is Donald Trump's America. And I want to say this again. Donald Trump had nothing to do with a gentleman with a nut going out there yesterday, walking up to a police car and shooting two police in the face. And I want to send my condolences. I'm glad they survived, but I'm still praying for the two of them. And I send my prayers to their families. We've got to start loving each other. Stop the violence. Stop the violence. These are people in blue uniforms. They're uniforms. They are human beings in those uniforms. All police are not harming people. And I want people to remember that. Let's start loving each other. And I'm sending my prayers to those two officers.
Yeah, that's really good stuff, man. And I totally agree with that. And I'm just looking, they're in critical condition, but they are expected to survive, and we're all happy to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, our thoughts and prayers. And, you know, there was a police officer here in Vegas that was shot in the back of the head during the protest. And he survived, but he's paralyzed. And, you know, they're going to need, like you say, Dee, you can make your point, stop violence. Violence doesn't help anything. You know, it just doesn't. And the state of our world now in our country needs to, how about we take a 20-second time out and calm everybody down a little bit.
And I know, but I want people to think, Ricky, let me say this quickly, because I want people to think about it. If we should police, do we want them targeting all civilians? No. So we shouldn't be targeting all police. They're people in uniforms. All police are not out there committing crimes. So we should not be targeting all police. We should not be targeting civilians. It's common sense. We need to slow down and get back to using common sense.
One of those police officers, the female, has a 9-year-old baby at home, a child, and she was shot in the head and the arms, and she was putting a tourniquet on her fellow officer.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
Amazing.
That is amazing. That's
I love you guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, love you guys too. Until next time, you've been watching Gerv and Big Mo. This is Ricky Hampton. God
Everybody
bless
have a great night. Have a great week.